During the 90s, stories about creatures like aswang, manananggal, tikbalang, kapre, tiktik, tiyanak scared us, especially for those of us who lived in the province. But since we're doubtful these creatures really exist because we haven't seen one, we just outgrew the scare from the tales about them. What really frightened us during those times were stories from family and friends about their experiences with ghosts. Restless spirits that cry for help, either because they couldn't accept their fate or they're paying a visit to their loved ones. There is nothing scarier than seeing dead people. So it's time for some throwback horror. Here are some 90s tales that you might have already heard before, but still give you a fright even today. Ozone Bystanders. October 1997, a few minutes before the bell rang to signal the start of the sem break, our audio-visual professor, who also produced documentary films for one of the country's television networks, narrated a story that made us rowdy students silent and attentive. Don't forget to watch our feature story on the Ozone Disco Club tragedy on October 31st, he said, with a voice modulated to echo in every corner of the room. This was 7 months after the tragic fire incident killed 162 people before midnight of March 18, 1996. Since there were rumors that ghosts show up and crying voices can be heard at the burned establishment, we decided to make a feature story on Halloween, so I sent our camera crew to Ozone, with hopes to get actual footage of the restless souls and record their cries. But, well, they failed. But our camera crew told us a hair-raising story. He started. Our cameramen went to Ozone before noon. While on their way inside, some bystanders were able to follow them. They called their attention and asked them gently to go outside, because they are the only ones permitted to be there. Good thing the bystanders willingly obliged. Apart from the eerie shades of black and gray, our crew captured the burned DJ booth where the fire started, the ceiling that went down and sandwiched disco goers, the small exit door that wasn't used and could have saved more lives, and the door at the entrance, which is the main reason why many guests were trapped inside, he narrated. The door he was referring to has a one-way opening. Push if you're outside and pull if you're inside. Since most of the guests ran to this door, the ones who were in front were not able to open the door because they got pressed before they got to pull it. But our cameramen were persistent, he continued. Hoping to get something special for our Halloween special feature, they decided to go back after dinner. When they were shooting inside, they noticed that there were bystanders again, standing a few feet behind them. Our main cameraman asked his assistant to tell them that they are not allowed to watch, and so he did. Mga sir, mga ma'am, hindi po tayo pwede dito. Labas muna po tayo. But everyone didn't move a muscle and was still staring at them. So the assistant decided to go near the group to escort them out. Ma'am, sir, pasensya na po. Bawal po tayo dito. Labas po muna tayo, he commanded with an earnest voice. But then someone talked with a gentle voice. Hindi po kami makalabas. Hindi po namin mabuksan ang pinto. Tulong! 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 Then this sound slowly faded. The assistant attempted to shout, but no sound came out his mouth. Trembling, he went back to his buddy, told him to turn the camera around. But when they turned around, no one was there. All the time they were shooting, they were the only humans present inside the Ozone. Our professor ended the story. The campus bell rang right after our professor stopped talking. We were all shocked and went nuts. Some fell off their seats, some jumped on it, some threw their stuff. and others wailed. The nurse. After our class went to one of our classmates' houses to celebrate, still with a hangover from our professor's story, we took turns in telling our own horror tales. One of my classmates from Surigao del Sur started. There was this mother who was about to go to the hospital where her sick son was confined. She just cooked lunch for her son and went back immediately to the hospital, which was 5 minutes away from their home. On her way there, she bumped into her niece who is a nurse at the said hospital. "Oh, saan ka pupunta?" she asked. "Pauwi po ng bahay," her niece replied as she continues walking towards the opposite direction. "Oh, mag-ingat ka," she said before proceeding to walk. As the mother got near the hospital, a black cat cut through her path. She got worried because there's a superstitious belief that when a black cat passes your way, it means bad luck. She made a sign of the cross and kept walking. When she reached the hospital, she noticed some people emerging at the emergency, crowding a patient lying on the stretcher. Suddenly, her heart beats fast as the vision of the black cat still appears in her mind. Wondering why people are interested to see the patient, she got curious too. So she squeezed herself into the crowd to see who it was. To her surprise, the patient who was lying down, covered with blood and dead, was her niece, who she was just talking to on her way to the hospital. The hairs in the back of her neck stood up. She utters with a shiver, "Kausap lang kita kanina." The nurse met an accident on the road right in front of the hospital 30 minutes before her aunt arrived. He ended. Maraming salamat po sa pakikinig. Kung mahilig po kayo sa mga kwentong nakakatakot, pwede po kayong mag-subscribe sa Kabadong Pinoy at marami po tayong kwentong nakakatakot dito. Salamat po ulit.